Welcome into maybe our biggest This Week in Missouri Politics live. Come on into the show. Let everybody get in here. This one might take a minute. Maybe our biggest audience ever. If you're watching for the first time, don't adjust. It's not your phone. I might just be this big. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Join us. Give everybody a second to get in here for what might be our biggest one of all times. Coming to you live from the headquarters, Eastern Division. Very glad to I am Scott Faughn. I am the publisher of the Missouri Times. I was This Week in Missouri Politics. A number of a few other odds and ends. Again, this could be our biggest audience yet. I want to let everybody have a chance to get in here. Appreciate you joining us. I don't know how many of these we've done, but my assumption is this one will be the largest one we've ever had. So let me jump right in. I'm not going to bury the headline here. I actually thought about coming out here and saying that there was no violence, there was no blackmail. We're all doing fine, thanks for asking. But I thought that would not be the move. That's not how we do it here. So for those of you that don't know, I host a show. We do pretty straight-laced. I also do this Periscope show about once a week, sometimes twice, depending on news. This week we may do 5 of them. I'm not sure. So if you're here, I assume that maybe half of you are here because you've been watching and half of you are new. Al Watkins came out and said that I was his client today. And so I want to tell you exactly what's going on. There's been for a long time, the book I've been telling you about, I've wanted to write for a while on the 2016 campaign, but with this governor, the campaign never stopped. The news never ever came to a stopping point. So at one point I was still out gathering things. It seems like it's all went right here to this point. I retained Al Watkins in connection with my research, and it is what it is. I'm not going to give you what one time a guy running for governor said: the corruption hides in the complexities, kind of like having 501s pay for your attorneys. When I retained him, it worked out, and so when I went to do this, by the time I actually had something that I could use, the story was already out there. By the time I had audio tapes or anything, there was no story for me to have. And because of the way I obtained the tapes, we weren't going to publish them in the newspaper. We weren't going to print them as a journalistic story. I was going to use them for source material in the book, which I'm going to. I would like to tell you the saltiest stuff you're going to read in the book, While Missouri Slept, you can get it at scottfaughn.com, is on this. But honestly, no, there's way more salty stuff. If you believe that this is only one woman, only one time, then you would have also believed the Greitens attorneys when they said this woman dreamed all this, and then the House today comes out and said she dreamed none of it. She's credible. I think that the book's going to be outstanding. What I did obtain the tapes, I just want to tell you a couple things. It's going to kind of conflict only in the sense of what I care about. I've never talked to PS in my life. Never had a conversation with him. Never had a conversation with Lauren Traeger. Did not provide the tapes to anyone else just because I'm greedy. If you want to know the truth, I'm just greedy. I would not have given them to someone else for their use because I didn't have what she had. What you saw on her report was a guy on the record talking. I think they blacked him out to keep her name silent. But what you saw on the news there was more than I had. I had tapes, some tapes. And I was going to try to source them. I was going to try to do all the stuff she did, but she had it done before I could. And because, frankly, I have no idea how they obtained the tapes. I assume through a whole different way. But the way I obtained them, I couldn't write a story about them because the way we obtained them, we weren't going to put it in the Missouri Times, Clayton Times, or anything like that. I was going to put it in my book, and I was going to try to source them, but I thought it would take a long time. Anyway, by the time that what I had, this story was out there and gone. And I at no time was able to, or would have even really had an interest in helping dilute what I thought this would be in my book. I did not know at the time Eric Greitens had committed like 10 felonies. I knew there was corruption there. I knew there was a lot of problems. I knew there was a lot of inauthenticity. I had no idea there was a ton of things that once you just poke this one little hole, you would see this huge amount of corruption. So anyhow, I don't know how else to put it to you, but that's it. I obtained them, but I did not give them to anyone, and I don't even, in my entire life, have never even spoken to the guy that she interviewed. I would only know what he looks like from some tweets that he put out towards the end of the election last year. So that's just the straight facts. Is I definitely did obtain tapes. I have retained Al Watkins, like you said, but at absolutely no time was I able to help give out the information. Because I'd like to tell you it's because I would have gave him up because I'm nice, but actually no, I'm actually just I'm just greedy. And so when I obtained them, it was for me, and I have them. They're not as valuable as they were, but frankly, this story has become so much bigger than just even this. Really, the book, I would say the next report probably is even more a bigger deal than even any of this stuff, the personal life stuff. And the personal life stuff is insane. But to be honest with you, that's what happened. If you're just tuning in, I did hire him. I did obtain tapes, but I never ever spoke to the guy, so we couldn't have, because of how we obtained him, and because I didn't have on the record what the Lauren Traeger on Channel 4 did. I didn't have a guy sitting for an interview. Because of the way they were obtained, that we couldn't use them in a news story, and because of the way they were obtained, we could not. I was going to use them for the book, but somebody else got more information than I did. It sucks. It's our first time doing a book, so I probably learned a lesson. But honestly, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't. It was a big deal to me at the time, but as more things continue to fall out and more felonies added up, it just become not as big a deal. And I'm not sure even if I would have known then what I know now, I would have probably cared even less. But going forward, our book's going to have, I don't know what else people are going to find. The House Investigative Committee report may have more info may have some of the scoops I'm planning. But that's why I want to get the book out, is because there's a lot of stuff we have that no one else has even brought up yet. So we'll see. But no, as of right now, I have some tapes that you may or may not have heard all of. I don't know that they're all out there. But we're not going to run them as a news story because of how we obtained them. We're going to put some in the book. I don't know that I have anything that's not out there publicly. Best I can tell, anything that had any news value has been. We'll just see. We'll see what happens going forward. But just to recap, I've never talked to the guy that's PS that's labeled, and I was of no help to Lauren Traeger because, again, I think her story has probably brought a lot of good to the state, just to be honest with you. It'd be lying to say I didn't think that. But I was greedier than I was that. So that's the truth of what happened. And I'm glad you all came in here. Let's talk about a couple more things here. Just to go back to, not even off the record, never even had. Appreciate the question, but there's really nothing else that I can give you on that. Anyway, what I can tell you is, just this whole story, put in context, is going to be outstanding. And if I happen to look into the Steinem knowledge, I will tell you that in the Steinem knowledge, it says the book is going to be outstanding. It's going to blow the roof off your Stein. That's how good the book's going to be. We will have some of the stuff in here about this, but about this particular incident, but we'll see. I mean, you may not even, you ever have a story that happens that's just got so much going for it that you can't even get the lid on it because you have to cut stuff that would be major parts of another story because the story is so juicy. This is the juiciest story of all time, and the fact that I'm now in it is unfortunate for me on one level. But if you go to scottfaughn.com, you can pre-order your book right now. It's probably fortunate for that. You should. You please do, and you should. Let's talk about one other thing before we'll round back around and touch on this one more time. The House Committee. I just saw this. Wow. The House Committee made up again. I'm sure. If I'm the new George Soros, make me the new George Soros. That's not a problem to me. The only difference between George Soros and me is I will care less about Eric Greitens and the bots and his sycophants attacking me as he does, who I'm sure he doesn't even know exists. But so the House Committee came out today. And then the news just comes like a fire hydrant. You remember back when the lawyers said, "Hey, you're the worst, Katrina." You're the worst when you come out and you try to say somebody made stuff up or dreamed it, and there's a deposition record. Well, the House came out today and said they've reviewed it all, and just let me read you the quote here. Greitens and his team claim that the video of the interview undermined the narrative and directly contradicted allegations of the House report. We took these claims seriously and immediately saw the interview in question, said Committee Chair Jay Barnes. Committee did not find anything in the circuit attorney interview that causes it to change its statement regarding witness number one's credibility. Greitens' claims about the content of the circuit attorney interview mischaracterized the actual testimony received and reviewed by his committee. Now, again, I'm sure the committee, made up of 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats, is a George Soros-funded terrible person. I'm sure I'm now a Soros-funded person. I actually don't care if that's what they do say. I think at this point, to have Greitens' lawyers lying about you is probably good for your character, and my character obviously could use it. So I'll take it. But just to recap again, if you're just tuning in, the news of the day that I actually became a part of, which is not the best thing for me, but it is good for the book, so I'll take it. I did obtain them, and I did go forward, and we're going to use them in the book we're working on. However, somebody else scooped the story, and they had more than we did. Never have spoken to PS, never have spoken about this or had a real conversation with Lauren Traeger in my life that I know of. Certainly not about this particular story. Just kind of going to the new info. The Greitens attorneys have lied again. They say they're going to get the place thrown out. They say that this person's dreaming and all this stuff. I think it's an amazing thing to watch how this firm has went from this respected firm to what it is now. So them attacking me, let me just ask you, if I would have attacked you like I've attacked that firm, would you not attack me back? Of course you would. And I did that. I'm a big boy. I did that knowing exactly what would happen. But let me tell you one attack I'm not going to take. I'll absorb some people saying, Faughn, wish you'd have done this, wish you'd have done that, and some of that, okay, I'll own some of that. But I'm not going to absorb Tony Messenger. That's not going to happen. And here's the tweet that kind of, I've always had some respect for Tony, and still do. I think he writes a good column. But let me just tell you, the revelation of the 50,000 paid to Watkins by Scott Faughn is a much bigger deal, and unfortunately for the reporters who were in the Missouri Times, than a game changer in the Greitens indictments case. I agree. I don't know the law, but I don't think it's a game changer in Eric Greitens' indictment. I was not in his basement, ever. I had nothing to do with the two of them meeting or any time they were together. I had nothing to do with the guy's wife and how he was mad at him. I had nothing to do with Michigan Continues. Didn't even know it existed until after he had taken his money. I will tell you this. I knew there was a problem with the Greitens administration when they signed that affidavit. But if you're watching this and you believe that consent decree that they signed and the guy from Kentucky signed, the governor and him, then you might have believed that the woman dreamed it. You might have believed any of the number of things that have come out to be lies. But now the Messenger thing, I don't have a necessarily beef with Messenger, but let me just tell you, I'm not going to take that from the Post-Dispatch, from people who do fake arrests with fake kettling to get attention, from people who, no shit, take money from pro-Obamacare people to write stories about Obamacare. Now, I'm just a white trash hillbilly from West Butler County, but I am not going to take that pious bullshit from them. I'll just tell you. And look, I know you hate Steve Tilley. Tony Messenger hates Steve Tilley like I hate the Cubs. And you know what? I think Steve Tilley's a good guy. But I have maintained a respect for Tony Messenger despite that. But let me just tell you, when I look at a publication and see a bunch of hospital ads on the back, then I see 15 editorials for Obamacare, which would put more money in the hospitals, and then I see pro-hospital groups paying the reporters to write the story about medical care, and I just kind of sit back and don't say anything. But then you want to gig me, you want to do a pile on me. That's bullshit. It's what we call it back in West Butler County. Don't know what you guys call it on Tucker Avenue, but I am a subscriber to the Post, read the Post every day, enjoy the heck out of it, but I'm not going to take some pile-on stuff. One of the reasons why we probably weren't more aggressive on this particular thing is I didn't want to look and I've been very negative about Eric Greitens, but I didn't really want to look like Tony does when he talks about Tilley. It's a totally different guy. If you want to dislike me because I think I admire Steve Tilley, well, I'm from that part of the state, so and I do admire him, and I'm not going to back down from that. Doesn't mean I have an issue with Tony, but when Tony wants to come on at me like that, I mean, by God, could you live in a bigger glass house? I've never been a fan of navel gazing and going back and forth at newspapers. I think that takes away from covering news. But if you want to poke me, that's horse shit. And so if you think I'm going to take that and not have a problem, Tony, you maybe you call next time. but sending tweets like you're 14 years old at me, not a big fan of. So I'll be glad to talk to you face to face. Going forward, I think we're going to have one of these maybe every day this week. It could be. At least we'll do one Wednesday. I think the news is coming so fast and so furious that we'll definitely be doing one of these going forward. Just to recap, the part of it that is true, I did retain him. We're going to use it for the book. I didn't believe the way we obtained it, we could use it in the news story. Plus, we didn't have a news story. We had some tapes. The news story that was ran by the TV station in St. Louis, they had the guy on camera. I think they blotted his face out. I didn't have that. So we didn't have what they had, which is why they ran it. We will be doing this. Go to scottfaughn.com for the book. This isn't even the slowest part of this. We have much better stuff than just this part in there, but we will be talking about it in the book. Very glad that all of you joined us. I do think we had a record, and I do think we have a record number of viewers, so thank you for that. And we will see you a little bit later in the week here on This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update.